Well, hi there. So in this video, we're going to take a look at how the economy could self-adjust back to the long-run potential output without the intervention of the government with its toolboxes of fiscal and monetary policy. So as we do this, we're going to be talking basically about how the economy could correct out of a recession or out of an expansion without any action by the government all by itself. So let's get started. Okay, so this first one just gives us that we're self-adjusting from an aggregate demand expansionary gap. And that means that aggregate demand has increased and caused us to have an expansionary gap of some kind. So we're beyond full employment, and it means that our unemployment rate is really, really low, right? So first kind of thing to know is that in an expansionary gap, unemployment is low, right? And it's actually kind of a way we can say is less than the natural rate of unemployment. So maybe the natural rate might be 5%, maybe the current unemployment rate is say 3 or 4%. So we're going to start in an aggregate demand expansion. And that means that we're going to actually not draw all three lines crossing in the same spot. So it's a little bit tricky to do this. We've got price level and Y, and we want to start with maybe our LRAS off to the left just a little bit, because LRAS represents our full employment level of output. And where we actually are is where AD and SRAS intercept each other. So AD and SRAS intercept over here, and we're going to call that like Y sub 1, and we'll call that PL sub 1. Now, a useful thing is to maybe kind of compare to what came before, right? And thinking about where the economy was before we got to this point, where AD is out here, way out far, is because aggregate demand increased way out there. So if you kind of envision, you used to have a aggregate demand curve right here, and then it shifted out to here. And in that process, right, and it can sometimes help if you just have a little hash mark right there, you can think about that price levels used to be down here at this lower level, and output obviously used to be at the full employment level. But then aggregate demand increased and it shifted to the right, causing a new intercept at a higher price level and a higher level of real output. Now, when we're way out here with very low unemployment, workers are going to say, hey, I'm worth a little bit more money, right? Unemployment is so low that, in fact, for employers to have to hire workers, they're going to have to pay them a little bit more. And as those workers get higher wages, that's a resource cost. And input or resource costs are a shifter of SRAS. And as those wages continually rise, it gets more expensive to produce, and it slowly decreases the SRAS back to that level of full employment. So what's going on is, as these workers are negotiating higher raises, the SRAS curve is going to shift back over so that we return to an AD SRAS equilibrium at full employment level of output. So our output would fall back to YF. But a tricky part here is that our prices would actually rise beyond even where they used to be. So we would say that the self-correction process here, right? We kind of started, if you say, before even any of this, we started at point A. Then we went to point B, and then we ended up at point C. So we didn't return back to where we originally came from. The prices never went back down, but we did have a boost of very low unemployment, a boost of output, right? When we went from YF to Y1 originally, we went from A to B. But in the long run, labor is going to increase its demands for wages. Input costs are going to rise, and that's going to cause SRAS to shift back to that full employment level of output. Now, this self-correcting mechanism obviously is not without consequence. It leads to higher price levels. So it's a reason why we might not want to let the economy just self-adjust and return to a long-run equilibrium by itself. But we could. If we wanted to, and we wanted to really avoid intervening in the economy, and we had an expansionary output gap where unemployment was really low, we could just kind of wait around, and we would eventually see the SRAS would kick back toward that full employment level of output at higher price levels, and it would return toward that lower level. This is a good reason, a brief reason maybe we should pause and acknowledge, if let's say the government were to continually try to boost aggregate demand, right? If we were to try to push down on unemployment and reduce unemployment by, say, increasing government spending and doing tax cuts after tax cuts after tax cuts, well, those would work. They would push aggregate demand out, right? They would go from A to B. But the long-run consequence of that would be that eventually the economy will return back to its full employment level of output, back to that natural rate of unemployment, and you would have higher prices. And for what it's worth, that exact process happened. Countries around the world in the 1960s and 1970s tried to do that. And what it often led to was inflation. It led to higher prices. They would do tax cuts. the unemployment rate would fall, or they would increase government spending, the unemployment rate would fall. And then after a year or two, the unemployment rate just would start to kind of naturally tick back upwards again. And they'd be like, oh gosh, darn it, we should do another round of tax cuts. Let's push that unemployment rate back down again. Or, oh gosh darn it, let's do another round of government spending, push that unemployment rate back down again. But then SRAS would eventually decrease, causing us to go back to full employment level of output and higher prices. Now, in a recession, it's kind of the opposite. You would start in the aggregate demand recession, you would start with maybe a LRAS off to the right-hand side of the graph, because that represents our full employment level of output. And where we actually are is going to be less than that. We're going to be below our full employment level of output. Now, a little bit tricky here, we would say below full employment output, and it's above the natural rate of unemployment. So we can sometimes get confused here if we aren't really careful with how we talk about these types of things. Unemployment, right? I mean, and it's a little tricky, right? Above the natural rate of unemployment, but below the full employment level of output. These seem really confusing. They seem like they're contradictory, but they're not. One is describing the amount of output, the GDP. And it's just saying, well, where are we? We are currently below at Y1, the full employment level of output. But this also means that we are above the natural rate of unemployment, that unemployment is high, right? That UE is too high. Is a way to say that, right? Unemployment is too high in a recession. So in this recession, we would say that, well, we've got price levels here, PL1 and Y1, and it's been caused because aggregate demand decreased, right? And I'm not going to draw the whole aggregate demand curve because we're starting in the recession. But we used to be right here, and now we have less output and lower prices. And what will happen is, as a result of this unemployment being really high, is some pay is better than no pay. Workers will begin to accept lower wages, which will lower resource costs, and it will increase SRAS. It will actually cause SRAS to shift to the right as the economy self-adjusts back to an equilibrium. And when we self-adjust back to that equilibrium, we're going to return to the full employment level of output from Y1 to YF, but we're going to actually have lower prices than what we started with. And again, this is us going originally from A to B. That's what caused the recession. And then from B to C, the economy self-corrects, kind of self-adjusts back to that long-run level of output. Now, the problem with allowing this to continue, right? We said there was maybe an issue with not intervening in the expansion. There's likewise an issue in not intervening in the recession. And the issue here is more that with high unemployment, that represents a real human cost. And if we were to wait for SRAS to move from SRAS to SRAS2, this movement from B to C is not necessarily instantaneous. And in fact, we could actually get stuck at point B if the SRAS curve is relatively flat. So there's some issues with basically allowing the economy to self-adjust. One is that it might actually get stuck at point B. The SRAS may not actually be able to shift to the right. And the reasoning here is that it relies on that lower wages. But imagine a scenario in which wages and prices have fallen so low that they kind of bottomed out in a way, right? That they're not going to get any lower than that. They're not going to get much below a certain level. Well, then this SRAS mechanism doesn't really work as well because it's predicated on those resource costs getting cheaper. But if they kind of wages flatten out and they don't get any lower, then SRAS will never shift back from point B to point C. So one critique of allowing the self-adjustment from the aggregate demand recessionary gap is that it may not work. But the second is that human cost is really high. Unemployment leads to serious issues in terms of social issues in an economy. And so there may be an argument from a political standpoint that we should intervene in this simply to avoid the social human costs of high unemployment. In the next in the next topic, we're going to talk about the ways that we could intervene in both of these types of scenarios and necessarily maybe avoid the higher prices that are associated here or the allowing the unemployment to continue for an extended period that we would see over here. Now, the last part of this lecture is really just connecting the three different models that we've talked about this semester and seeing how you can actually kind of tell a similar story in all three models. So the first picture is going to be AD and AS, and we're going to put Y and price levels, and we'll have an LRAS, and we're going to have an AD, and we're going to have an SRAS. Now, if we're right here in the middle at YF, we would call that equilibrium. Right? That's equilibrium. But if we were, for example, way up here, and that's the amount that we were producing at, say, Y2, that would be an expansion. because we're producing way out here. And I know this seems like a weird way to label it that way, but you can imagine that maybe there was an AD curve, AD2, that led to that being an expansion. But if you had an AD curve that was way over here, we'll say just AD1, that would be a recession, and we can label it down here, right? So we would say this one is a recession, this one's equilibrium, and that one is an expansion. Now, we can then also draw the PPC. We can show what would that look like from capital goods and consumer goods. Consumer goods. And we could say that an economy might look like that, and you could have a recession, you could have equilibrium, or full employment, right? Because that's really what that means, is full employment, equilibrium, full employment, and you could have an expansion. And then with the last model that we talked about, the business cycle, didn't leave myself nearly enough space. We have potential output, hopefully rising over time. And then we have the amount of output is up here, and we drew that little sine wave graph, right? And that's what that actual one was. That's our actual, and that's our potential. I'm just making sure that I'm labeling them correctly here. And this period where it's going down is a recession. Where it's going back up is an expansion. And right where they meet, that's equilibrium, full employment. So we're kind of telling similar stories with these three different graphs that we've kind of listed out here for you. And you can also show growth, right? We saw growth via LRAS increasing. So we can also label growth. And I'll just say growth, LRAS increasing. PPC, shift out, right? That would also be growth. And for this one, it would be potential GDP is upward sloped. So all three kind of telling us similar things, and all three can actually tell us about growth as well. We don't usually show that LRAS shifting to the right, but that's what it would look like. A shift out of this PPC, right? So a shift outward, and then obviously the upward sloping line of potential GDP. So similar models, and I just wanted to kind of draw your attention to those. Sometimes you'll see questions that are predicated on your understanding of their relationships. So hopefully this helped you understanding those relationships, but also how the economy can self-adjust from an output gap. I'll see you next time.